Good morning, students. Today, the topic which we are going to discuss is trait theory. The learning objectives of today's topic are trait theory. You will able to understand the concept of trait theory, view of human behavior, psychology of individual, structure of personality, criteria of traits, and criteria of mature personality. The sum total of ways in which an individual reacts and interacts with others. The sum total of ways in which an individual is reacting and interacting with other individuals. Personality is a pattern of stable states and characteristics of a person that influence his or her behavior towards goal achievement. Personality, a relatively stable set of characteristics, a set of characteristics that are relatively stable, that influence an individual behavior, and that characteristics are influencing an individual behavior, how he has to behave. Now, the theories of personalities are: the first one is trait theory, the second one is psychodynamic theory, third is humanistic theory, and the fourth one is interactive approach theory. Today, we are going to discuss the trait theory. Now, the measurement of consistent pattern of habits in an individual behavior, thought, and emotion. Consistent pattern of habits in a particular individual, how he is behaving, what are its thought process, and what are its emotions. The theory is based on the stability of traits over time, how they differ from other individuals, how these traits make an individual differ from other individual, and how they will influence human behavior and how these traits are influencing a particular human behavior. Trait theory states that human beings possess wide varieties of characteristics. Trait theory states that human beings are possessing wide varieties of characteristics or traits that are consistent over time, and these traits or characteristics of that particular human being are consistent over time. Not everyone will share the same characteristics or traits. Means two individuals cannot share their same characteristics or traits. That's why we are saying that every individual has some unique or specific traits, and that specific or unique traits make him different from that particular individual. But all of us will share from the same pool of characteristics that make up the physique of all humans. But all of us, means all the human beings, will share from the same pool of characteristics. Means there are some characteristics that are common and that makes up the psyche of all human beings. The different combination of traits found in each of us are what makes us unique. Different combinations of traits means that different combinations of trait, one individual has different combination of trait and the other individual have different combination of trait, and these different combinations of traits make each individual as unique and specific. Trait theories are therefore primarily concerned with the differences in people with regard to their own set of personality traits. Gordon Willard Allport, father of personality theories. Biography: he was born on November 11, 1897 in Monageston, Indiana, USA. His father was a physician while his mother was a teacher. The youngest child of four brothers, he married a clinical psychologist. He was the first psychologist who gave thorough thought to the concept of traits. Means Allport has been the first psychologist who have given thorough thought to the concept of trait. He developed his own trait theory. Allport has developed his own trait theory, and he continued to view the trait as the most appropriate way of describing and studying personality. And he developed his own trait theory, and he uh, continue to view the traits as the most appropriate way of describing and studying the personality of an individual. He is, by many, actually considered to be the first psychologist dealing with personality at all, and he has been considered as the first psychologist who is dealing with personality at all and was the first to offer a class in this field at Harvard University. And Alport was the first who has offered a class in this field, means in the field of trait theory at Harvard University in 1924. Throughout Alport's life, Alport continued to develop and work with his trade theory, which he has developed. And he inspired many other psychologists, to work on these trade theories, who also adapted this approach to personality or developed their own trade theory. Who have adapted this approach, means the trait approach, and developed their own trait theory. Now, education. He ranked second in a class of 100 high school graduating students. His interest in social ethics and social service acquired from his parents and was reinforced at Harvard, where he undertook volunteer work for the Boys Club. He received his MA in 1921 and his PhD in psychology in 1922 from Harvard University. His dissertation was an experimental study of the traits of personality. Now, achievement. He was elected as the president of the American Psychological Association and received many awards, including the American Psychological Foundation Gold Medal and the American Psychological Association Award for Distinguished Scientific Contribution. He was the first personality theorist to study the psychological healthy individual. Now, he was the first psychologist who studied about the personality theorists to study the psychological healthy individual. This reflects one of his major propositions that minor his own childhood experiences and his later theory means the study on the psychological healthy individual reflects one of his major propositions that minor his own childhood means major proportion from his own childhood experiences and his later theory. Out of boyhood conditions, isolations, and rejections, he compensated by trying to excel. He began to identify himself. He started identifying himself, who I am, out of envy of his older brother, Florid, by choosing the same course and obtaining a PhD as his brother did. He taught at Harvard University until his death on October 9, 1967. View of human nature. Allport theory is known as the trait theory because he emphasized the nature and evaluation of personality traits. as he emphasized on the nature and evaluation of personality traits. His theory is also called the psychology of individuals, means the Allport theory of traits is also called as the psychology of individuals because it emphasizes a person uniqueness. Why it's being called as the psychology of individuals? As this theory is emphasizing a person uniqueness, specificness. Alport was certain that motivation is always a contemporary process. An individual current self-image is far more important than whatever he she has been in the past. Means he is saying that individual current self-image is more important to an individual than whatever he she be in the past. No central motive even for abnormal personalities is ever totally independent of the contemporary ego structure. The withdrawn catatonic will speak upon recovery of events he she attempted but ultimately failed to respond to during the deepest state of their catatonic condition. Alport views psychology as the study of the healthy person. Means for Alport, the psychology is the study of the healthy person. Another basic approach he takes is that of the individual human as unique. And another thing that he has taken into consideration is that every individual is unique. Every individual is specific. Every individual has some specific traits that makes that individual as a unique person. Each person is different from the other. Means two individuals cannot be same. Every person is different from the other one and should therefore be studied accordingly. And therefore, every individual should be studied according to its own difference, according to its own uniqueness. Individual can still be compared. We can compare an individual, but Alport understanding of psychology goes beyond just comparison. But when we are talking about the Alport, his understanding of psychology it goes beyond just comparing two individuals. He emphasized this individuality in virtually all aspects of his psychology. Another contrast to the view of the psychoanalyst as well as other psychologists who put emphasis on similarities within people, who are giving focus or give emphasis on similarities within people. Another radical view of Alcott is one regarding the dynamic within the individual. The other thing which Alcott has given focus is the dynamic within the individual. He refers to this as functional autonomy and he refers to the dynamic within the individual as the functional autonomy. This aspects of his psychology means the functional autonomy of his psychology, or this aspect of his psychology, is probably where Alport differ most from other psychologists of his time. Means the functional autonomy is that which differs Alport from other psychologists of his time, especially psychoanalysts like Freud and Jung, but also behaviorists like Skinner. Means he is different, especially from the psychoanalyst like Freud and Jung, but also he is different from the behavioristic like Skinner. Alport believes that motivations occurs independent of past experiences. Now, Alport believed that motivation, the reinforcement, occurs independent of past experiences. Means the past experiences, because of that, the motivations occur. It is the present motives, and it is the present motives such as interest of an individual, attitude of an individual, and lifestyle that governs a person's behavior. And he is saying that a person's behavior is governed by the present motives. The present motives are the interest of an individual, attitude of an individual, and lifestyle of an individual in that particular current situation. Now, psychology of individual, structure of personality. Alcott originally used the word trait but found that so many people assume he meant trait and perceived by someone looking at another person. He is saying that so many people assume he mean trait. That Alcott by trait he means that as perceived by someone when someone perceived you. Perceived when someone looking at another person and how another person perceive that person when he looks at that person, or measured by personality trait, or he measured that person by measuring his personality by using the personality test rather than as unique, rather than that individual is a unique individual characteristics within a person. What are the different individual characteristics within a particular individual or a person? That he changed it to dispositions. Personal disposition, cardinal disposition, traits that dominates the personality. These are the cardinal dispositions that dominates the personality of an human being, influencing almost everything a person does. And that cardinal dispositions influence almost everything that a person does in his or her life. Central disposition, characteristics which typifies a person's behavior, how that particular person will behave. That characteristics, the central dispositions, types a person behavior. That this type of person with having these type of characteristics will behave in that particular manner. Now the secondary disposition, responses to particular stimuli, how you will respond to that particular stimuli, which may occur on rare occasions, and that stimuli may occur on rare occasions. Now, 8 criteria of traits. The first one, have more than nominal existence. Second one, are more generalized than a habit. We just cannot call them a habit. Are dynamic, ever changing, or at least determinative. May be established empirically or statistically. Means these traits may be established empirically or statistically. Are only relatively independent of each other. Means these traits are relatively independent of each other. Are not the same as the moral quality. And these traits are not the same as the moral qualities. Acts and habit inconsistent with the traits are not proof of the non-existence of the trait. Means if any act and habits are inconsistent with a particular trait, it does not mean that that particular trait is non-existent. Are present within the personality that contains it. Means these traits are present with the personality that contains it or within a population at large. These traits are within a population at large. Elements in trait that can be used as accurate and meaningful units of study for personality. The first one is traits have the capacity to motivate. Means the traits have the capacity or the ability to motivate a particular individual, a particular human behavior. Inhabit or select appropriate human behavior. And these traits will not only help or have the capacity to motivate, but these traits help us to select that this will be the appropriate human behavior. To select the appropriate human behavior. Mutually interdependent traits are the elements in behavior. Interdependent traits are the elements in behavior. Traits help explain the consistencies that we find in personality, and traits help explain the consistencies that we find in the personalities of an individual. Traits are not directly observable but not be inferred. Means we cannot directly observe the traits. That these traits are present in an individual. Our traits began with neuropsychic systems. Means a particular trait begins with the neuropsychic system of an individual. There are individual and common traits, and there are present of individuals and common traits. A trait is a combination of two or more habits, or we can say a trait is a combination of two or more habits of a particular individual. Traits may drive as well as direct. Means traits may drive as well as direct and human behavior. Traits have a strong connotation of contemporaneity or a state of being and newness of things. Allport used the Idiographic and the Nomothenic approaches in studying personality. Means these type of approaches are used by the Allport in studying the personalities of an individual human being. Now, Idiograph method intensive study of a simple case where we will do a intensive deep study of a simple case. It emphasizes the uniqueness of the individual and ideograph method emphasize give importance on the uniqueness of the individual, the specificness of a particular individual. The next one is Nomothenic method. Study a group of individuals where we study a group of individuals how they are behaving and analyzing them, and we are analyzes their behavior, and that method is called as Nomothenic method. Alport attempting to blend Nomothenic and Idiographic perspectives. He called this blend the Morphanic approach, where in that approach he has blended Nomothenic and Idiographic perspectives, and he called this blend as the Morphanic approach. Now, criteria of a mature personality. The first one is self extension, has diverse interest. That means has various interests. Warm human interaction respects and appreciates the right of others, where we respect and appreciate the rights of other people. Self acceptance or emotional situations and has an optimistic point of view. We have an optimistic point of view regarding any situation or condition. The fourth one is realistic perception, looks at situations in an objective manner, not in a subjective manner, and solve the practical problems of everyday life. And we are trying to solve the practical problems which an individual is having in everyday living. Security accepts frustrating. Self objectification has insight or awareness of one's strength and weakness and has a good sense of humor. By that, he means an insight and awareness of that these are my strengths and these are the weaknesses and has a good sense of humor. Unifying principle of life has a sense of purpose that I had that purpose for my life. I believe in that or goal in life, and this is the particular goal that I want to achieve in my life. Possible units of the study of personality. The first one is intellectual capacity. The second one is syndromes or temperament. The third one is unconscious motives. The fourth one is social attitudes. The fifth one is I- ideational schemata. Sixth one is expressive traits. Seventh one is stylistic traits. Eighth one is pathological trends. And the ninth one is factorial clusters. Character and attitude may also be used as units of study, but these present some complications. Characters involve the judgment of moral right and wrong. The character involves what is right and what is wrong, the morality behind doing anything. Attitudes or a disposition to an object or towards an object of value involves an emotional response from a very narrow range of stimuli towards an object of value. Attitude can be evaluated, means we can evaluate the attitude of a particular individual, but a trait cannot be evaluated. But we cannot evaluate a trait because it's naturally exists. Why we cannot evaluate a trait? Because it is naturally exist within the individual. Thus, attitude is difficult to work with. Then it is difficult to work with attitude as a unit of measurement. So it is difficult to measure the attitude of a particular individual, but we can easily cannot measure the traits that are being present into the individuals, and these traits are naturally exist. Now, functional autonomy represents the present go of interest and tendencies that initiates and sustains current behavior. The current behavior of a particular individual. It means a strong inclination for a motive system to develop independently of the primary drive originated in an action. Two types of functional autonomy. The first one is perspective functional autonomy, a closed or almost closed system which continues. primarily under its own power with little or no outside reinforcement. Means where there is very little or no outside reinforcement. Proponent functional autonomy, an open system which presupposes that the individual is constantly bombarded with stimuli. Right process that are not functionally autonomous. The first one is biological drives. Second one is reflex action. Third is constitutional equipments. The fourth one is habits. The fifth one is primary reinforcement. Sixth one is infantilism and fixation. Seventh one is some neurosis. And the eighth one is sublimation. Methods in which functional autonomy can be created in the personality pattern. The first one is quasi-mechanical and the second one is appropriate. So today, students, we have discussed the personality, then the different theories of personality, and then we have discussed about the trait theory of Allport. So further reading on this topic that we have discussed today, you can refer these references. Now let us discuss some MCQs, as MCQs are the best way to know the learning outcomes of an individual, how much you have understood a particular concept or topic. Now the first one, dash, is the sum total of ways in which individual reacts and interact with person. Now the first question is the sum total of ways, the methods in which an individual is reacting and interacting with other people or other human beings. Now the options are A, personality, B, learning, C, teaching, or it's D, interaction. So these are the options, students. Now you have to select the correct answer on the basis of the given choices. And what will be the correct answer? And the correct answer will be option A, that is personality. Now the second one, the elements that make a personality are called. The different elements that is making a personality, what do we call those elements? Now the options are A, factors, B, phenomena, C, traits, or it's the element. So students, these are the options. Now you have to select the correct answer on the basis of the given choices, and the correct answer will be, yes, the correct answer will be option C, that is traits. Now, which of the following is not a component of mind according to Freud? Now the options are A, the it, B, the trait, or the C one is super ego. Now which is not a component of mind? So student, these are the options. Now you have to select the correct answer on the basis of the given choices. And the correct answer will be option B, that is the trait. Means when we are talking about the fright component of minds, he had said the ego and the super ego. The trait is not included in that component of mind. Now the fourth one, someone who is preoccupied with themselves and their internal world is called. Now, what do we call that particular individual? who is preoccupied with themselves and their internal world. Now, the options are A, an extrovert person, B, an introvert, or it's C, an ultravert. So, these are the options, and the correct answer will be option A, that is an extrovert. Now, which of the following is true? Self concept is the person idea and feeling about other people. Means the concept of self concept is that how a person feel and what his particular idea about other people. The second one is self concept is the person feeling an idea about him or herself, what he thinks, what he feels about himself. Self concept is the person feeling an idea about the rest of the world. So these are the options, students, and you have to select the correct answer at what will be the correct concept of self concept. So the correct answer will be yes, the correct answer will be option B. That is, self concept is the person feeling an idea about him or herself. When a person is having uh, feelings about himself or herself, his ideas about himself or herself, then this is the concept of self concept. Now, the sixth one, ourself as others see us is called. Now, the options are the real self, the ideal self, the looking glass self. So, students, these are the options. Now, you have to select the correct answer on the basis of the given choices, and the correct answer will be the real self, that ourself as others see us is called as a real self. Now, the seventh one, the process of monitoring our behavior to conform with feedback from others is called. Means our process of monitoring our behavior will be monitored to conform with feedback, and after monitoring our behavior, we will confirm whether that behavior is correct or not. We will confirm by getting the feedback from others, and this type of process of monitoring our behavior is called as. Now the options are A, self-expression, B, self-monitoring, or C, self-behaving. So students, these are the options. Now you have to select the correct answer on the basis of the given choices, and the correct answer will be yes, the correct answer will be option B, or we can say self-monitoring. So this process of monitoring our behavior to conform with feedback from others is called as self-monitoring. Now, eighth one, which of the following is true about psychographics? Now, these are the options, students, and you have to select the true statement about the psychographics. Now, the options are its uses behavioral tendency to infer personality traits. Means the psychographics uses the behavioral tendencies to infer personality traits. The second one, it self monitors an individual's psychological states. It self monitors an individual's psychological states. Psychographics produce graphs denoting the key motivators that an individual has. So, students, these are the options. Now, you have to select the true statements about the psychographics, and the true statement will be it uses behavioral tendency to infer personality traits. Now, the ninth one, which of the following is an incorrect pairing from the Myers Briggs type indicator? Now, the options are sensing, intuitive, thinking, feeling, judging, compelling. Now, these are the options, students, and you have to select the correct answer on the basis of the given choices. And the correct answer will be judging and compare. You are making complaining against other individuals. You are judging individuals and you are compelling others individuals. Now the tenth one, according to Freud, which of the following is our conscious self? Now the options are the id, the superego, or the third one is the ego. So the correct answer is option the ego, as it the ego is related or concerned with the reality. Thank you, students. With this particular narration, you have understood what is the concept of personality. Then we have defined the different theories of personality, the trait theory, the type theory, humanistic, and the implemented approach theory. Then we have discussed about the Allport trait theory, what he has told about the trait theory, what his views about the trait theory, and why he considered the trait theory as an important determinant in determining the personalities of an individual. Thank you, students, for your patience listening. In other class, we will discuss about the different psychodynamic theory of personalities.